Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to cover chapter 4 of this manhwa. Now in the last chapter, our main character Jo Hwi unlocked his ultimate Murim superpower, 21st century economic theory. Realizing that his massive reservoir of modern knowledge is worth way more than any individual invention, he convinced his traditional craftsman father to stake everything on a massive gamble. Their goal is to turn the family's bankrupt workshop into a mass-production powerhouse, slash retail prices by 30%, and completely take over the Manhwa iron market. But to pull this off, they need serious capital and they need it fast. In Chapter 4, Jo Hwi takes his first major step into the cutthroat world of Murim commerce. He goes face-to-face with a powerful merchant syndicate, leverages everything down to his own family's lives, and introduces a completely revolutionary concepts to an unsuspecting workforce. Let's see how he does it. The chapter kicks off with a dose of harsh reality. As Jo Hwi and his father walk toward the bustling marketplace where the major merchant syndicates operate, he is physically feeling the grind literally. He realizes his heels are absolutely killing him and grumbles to himself that he desperately needs to buy a new pair of shoes before he starts making real money. As they approach the grand, imposing headquarters of the formidable Fire Dragon merchant group, Jo Hwi spots a man outside directing the crowd. The man barks at them, "You're the young master's third customer. Please go over there to wait for your turn." Jo Hwi watches this closely and recognizes that the man is a sharp, highly observant gatekeeper for the syndicate. The atmosphere is incredibly tense. He and his father stand in line, watching a parade of local business owners and craftsmen exit the building. Almost none of them leave with a good expression. Most look completely defeated, sighing heavily as they walk away. It's a stark reminder that Murim commerce is a brutal, unforgiving battlefield. Jo Hwi notes to himself that this negotiation is definitely not going to be easy. When the guard finally shouts, "Next," Jo Hwi turns to his anxious father and calmly says, "Father, you can just stay here." Leaving his father in the courtyard, and he takes a deep breath and steps through the doors completely alone. Jo Hwi enters a luxurious, quiet room and finds himself standing before a smooth, wealthy-looking young man sitting behind a large desk, flanked by an imposing personal guard. In his mind, he instantly notes the striking resemblance to Jianghu. The young master of the merchant group looks up, completely unimpressed by Hwi's plain clothes, and bluntly asks, "All right, how many silvers do you need?" Jo Hwi doesn't hesitate for a single second. He looks him dead in the eye and says, "I need 300 silvers." The room goes dead silent. The young master doesn't even bother to ask why. He just raises a dismissive hand to his guard and says, "See him out." Most people would panic, beg, or leave in shame, but Jo Hwi just smiles. As he turns to go, he throws out a cold, calculated warning, "You'll be regretting this while pounding the floor. This will perhaps be the biggest mistake you'll ever make in your life." The young master pauses, his brow furrowing. "What did you say?" Our MC turns back with total confidence and declares that by kicking him out, the Fire Dragon merchant group is actively throwing away an exclusive connection to the workshop that will soon supply the absolute majority of ironwork materials in Manhwa, and the one that will charge the cheapest delivery fees. Intrigued but highly skeptical, the young master asks if Jo Hwi is a representative from one of the massive, established names like the Golden Hill Workshop or the Great Black Fire Workshop. Our MC boldly replies, "I'm Jo Hwi, the second son of the Jo clan's workshop in Bangtae. Of course, I'm here on behalf of the Jo clan's workshop." The young master's face immediately darkens. He slams his hand down, feeling insulted. "Did you come out here to mess with me? Are you looking down on the name of the Fire Dragon merchant group?" Jo Hwi lets out a calm sigh, perfectly maintaining his composure. He admits he knows his family's name currently holds zero fame, which is exactly why he isn't asking for a credit transaction based on trust. Instead, he lays down a hyper-detailed asset collateral sheet that leaves the young master completely stunned. Jo Hwi begins rattling off numbers like a human calculator. 300 steel anvils worth about 50 silver coins. 2 big hammers, 2 small hammers, and 3 steel blades. 6 cast iron frames, bringing the total tool market price to 40 silver coins. The workshop's physical plot of land, 220 pyong, valued at 40 silver coins. Their raw storage materials, like oak tree bark and charcoal, which would sell for 10 silver coins. All of that, Jo Hwi concludes smoothly, brings a total of 150 silvers. These are everything that we'll be putting up as collateral. The young master narrows his eyes, doing the quick math. What about the remaining 150 silvers? Our MC looks at him completely expressionless and drops an absolute bombshell. "My father is in his late 30s while my mother is in her mid-30s. My older brother and I are in our 20s. I'll put up all 4 of our lives as collateral." The young master is genuinely shocked. Jo Hwi calmly explains the grim logistics. He points out that it is hard to figure out the usual cost of human trafficking on the illegal market. If they base the valuation off the official trading prices of government slaves, the combined net worth of 4 healthy, prime-aged individuals easily exceeds 150 silver coins. The young master stares at Jo Hwi, realizes this kid isn't bluffing or crazy, and smiles. He finds RMC incredibly interesting and admits the logic is completely sound. However, he notes that handling and liquidating collateral takes significant time, manpower, and overhead fees, especially when dealing with future slavery. That's why, Jo Hwi says, "I'm giving you an opportunity to make a deal with me instead." Hwi smiles inwardly. The tables have officially turned. The young master asks, "For what reason would having a connection with your workshop be an opportunity to the Fire Dragon Merchant Group?" He lays down his master plan. He promises to supply the Fire Dragon Merchant Group with high-quality iron plows at a mind-boggling 70% of the standard market price. The young master literally gaps out loud, his eyes widening in complete disbelief. How could a large iron plow be worth a measly 28 silvers? Can you really supply goods with these prices? Our MC confidently replies that he is ready to sign a binding contract right now. To seal the deal and apply ultimate pressure, he casually mentions that if the Fire Dragon Merchant Group decides to pass on this offer, he plans on walking straight over to their bitter rivals, the Milky White Merchant Group, with the exact same offer. The young master's pride flares up. Realizing Jo Hwi is aggressively playing him against his rivals, he refuses to lose out on this goldmine. He turns to his imposing guard and commands, "General Ha, bring out 1,000 silvers." The guard is completely thrown off. The young master looks at Jo Hwi with a dangerous, predatory grin. Since he brought up the grim reality of the black market, the young master decides to play by those exact rules. By giving him 1,000 silvers instead of 300, he is effectively buying absolute literal power over the entire family's lives. He warns Jo Hwi that if the workshop fails to pay him back in time, he will sell them off as slaves or prostitutes without a single shred of mercy. Jo Hwi doesn't even flinch. He just smiles and says that won't happen. Walking out of the headquarters with a massive chest of 1,000 silver coins, his father is shaking, completely overwhelmed. He anxiously asks, "Son, what will we do now?" Jo Hwi turns to him and asks a simple question, "Father, what is most common in this time period?" His father looks confused. "Most common," Jo Hwi grins. "It's none other than manpower." The moment they return to their home district of Bangtai, he immediately posts massive for-hire signs right at the entrance of the crowded marketplace, and his calculation pays off instantly. The next morning, a massive, roaring sea of people completely packs their courtyard. His father looks out at the crowd, his jaw hitting the floor. "I can't believe that this many people gathered here." Jo Hwi sits in a chair like a seasoned modern HR manager and begins a strict, highly calculated one-by-one interview process, utilizing his business administration degree and years of working random part-time jobs. He ruthlessly filters the candidates into 3 band categories. The overly talkative is automatically rejected. Jo Hwi notes that people who talk too much are rarely honest and are highly likely to incite drama, gossip, and division within a strict workforce environment. The physically weak also gets rejected as they simply won't survive the grueling, non-stop physical labor of a heavy iron workshop. The slow-witted are also rejected. MC explains that naive or slow-witted individuals will completely disrupt the highly optimized, rapid workflow speed he is trying to establish. Once his elite team is selected, Jo Hwi stands before the crowd of newly hired workers and officially welcomes them to the Jo clan's workshop. He passes out beautifully structured, written legal contracts, telling those who can read to check the terms immediately and encouraging those who can't to find a literate friend to verify the contents for them. The workers flip through the pages, murmuring in confusion. Jo Hwi steps forward and begins laying down the modern, capitalistic bonus structures that are completely unheard of in this medieval era. The base salary and overtime. He sets the base daily salary for charcoal burners at a solid 8 iron coins. But then he introduces an alien concept, overtime pay. If they work extra hours, they will receive an additional 2 iron coins per hour. The workers gasp, wildly calculating that their salaries will skyrocket just by putting in a few extra hours. Weekly paid leave. Jo Hwi announces that everyone is required to completely rest once every 7 days. The workers are baffled, but our MC drops a second bombshell, holiday pay. They will be paid 70% of their daily salary, that is 7 iron coins, just to stay home and rest. The workers literally lose their minds, yelling, "We can rest for a day. Holiday pay? You'll still give us iron coins even if we don't work. Jo Hwi smoothly explains that resting is a scientific necessity to maintain their peak physical strength so they can work twice as hard the next day. Performance bonuses. He tells them it's too early to be surprised. He introduces performance pay if a charcoal burner outputs more than 30 do, which is around 540 liters of charcoal in a single day. They get an instant 50% raise, bringing their daily earnings to a whopping 12 iron coins. Monthly and annual leave. On top of everything else, he grants them one extra monthly leave day. If they choose to skip it and work instead, their pay for that day is completely doubled. Furthermore, if anyone works a full consecutive year without taking unexcused absences, they are rewarded with an additional 5-day paid annual leave the following year, which also pays double if they choose to work through it. Jo Hwi watches their ecstatic faces and laughs internally, noting that the modern bonus system is a beautiful, hyper-efficient capitalistic gift perfected through centuries of trial and error. He confirms that these identical, ultra-lucrative contract terms apply to every single sector of the factory, the molders, the stokers, and the forgers alike. However, his friendly smile instantly vanishes as he delivers one non-negotiable, deadly serious condition: the non-disclosure agreement. He looks at the crowd with cold eyes and warns them that they are strictly forbidden from disclosing a single piece of operational data, workflow design, or workshop business to anyone outside, not even to their closest family members. Because they have a massive workforce, he warns them that any leak will be instantly tracked down through internal investigation, and the offender will be unconditionally fired on the spot. The workers, completely intoxicated by the thought of earning life-changing wealth, pump their fists into the air and scream at the top of their lungs, "We absolutely won't tell anyone. Please don't worry about it and let us work immediately. We want to start working. Nowhere else pays this much money." Jo Hwi raises his hands to calm the roaring crowd and smiles. "You can't just yet. Only the charcoal burners are to follow me. The rest would have to be trained by my father over there. You don't have to worry about your salary. You'll be paid even if you're only receiving training." The chapter ends on a massive high note as the entire workforce cheers in pure euphoria, shouting that they will gladly work themselves to death for the Jo clan's workshop. And that is the end of Chapter 4. Jo Hwi has successfully secured a massive 1,000 silver coin war chest and built a fiercely loyal, hyper-motivated assembly line workforce using the irresistible power of modern employee benefits. He has officially laid the foundation for his industrial empire, but with the Fire Dragon Merchant Group holding absolute power over his family's lives as collateral, the stakes have never been higher. What do you guys think of his brilliant corporate strategy? Would they work themselves to death for 12 iron coins and paid weekend leave? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to see if their mass production line actually succeeds or if rival workshops try to sabotage them, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss Chapter 5. Thank you for watching Legends Whisper, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.